All right, there we go. Good morning, Chair, Board Member Garrett, and staff. Lobby is open and recording has begun.
Thank you, Dustin. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to February, first of all. We will call to order the board caucus meeting for February 1st, 2022. The first thing on our agenda today is an executive session for litigation review. So the board's going to go into executive session to discuss legal matters relating to litigation or potential litigation to which the agency is or is likely to become a party. I anticipate that the executive session will conclude at so what we'll do is at 10:15, one of us will come back here either to reconvene the meeting, or if we need more time to let you know that we need a little more time. If we finish early, we will come back just to stand at ease until 10:15, so nobody misses anything. So with that, we will go into executive session. Stand by.
I'm sorry, you went out.
Stand by. Here, we're back in the meeting. So
I'll call you back, Ollie.
hold on. We're back in the meeting. If we're going to go back to our agenda, and we've concluded our executive session on litigation review. And at 10:15 now, we will move to the second item on our agenda, which is approval of our minutes from the board caucus on the 25th of January. Motion to approve those. Member Garrett? There you are.
Okay. My screen was black the entire time, but
Oh.
okay. Are you waiting on a motion?
Yeah, motion for approval of the January 25th, 2022 board caucus minutes.
I move approval of the January 25th, 2022 board caucus minutes.
Great. And those, I second, and those are approved. And then Director Rick Garza is with us, and give you a few minutes for any updates on agency operations, Rick.
Well, so much of the work, Mr. Chairman and Board Member Ollie Garrett, I really want to just very briefly, because I know we'll get a chance next week to get a briefing from Chris on the legislative session. The committee cutoff for bills out of the policy committee is Thursday, so it'll be timely for him to come to you and let you know how we're doing. Remember our two agency request bills. One has to do with the lab testing and the other with the cannabinoid bill. Are moving through the process. We'll know more in the next day or two. The cannabinoid bill that is so important to us has moved out of the House committee and may move out of the Senate committee. We'll know in the next day or two. We've been meeting with legislators and leaders of the committee, David and I and Chris and others whenever needed as far as staff to help inform folks and educate them about our bills and the other ones that are out there. But it's been going very well. There was a hearing on the social equity bill last week, and we testified in favor, and there were a lot of people in favor and obviously some people who were against that bill, but we'll see where that's going. But the good news is our bills are moving forward, and those bills that we've had concerns with don't appear to be moving forward. And like I said, I'll give Chris the opportunity to give you more detail once we're through the committee deadline. Also, if you haven't had an opportunity, please go to the Tacoma News Tribune this morning. You'll see there's an opinion editorial from David Postman, our chair, which very eloquently shares some of the concerns and issues that we've had the last year, not only with the proposal to amend the board and change the board and restructure the board, but also how that deals with the issue around the cannabinoid legislation that we have and others that have a different path that they want to follow. So really appreciate the work of the staff and David in putting together that opinion editorial. I think it really very eloquently speaks to the issues and the frustration and the issues that we've had with some sectors of our industry. Though we know, and I think you speak to it, David, most of our industry on the cannabis side has been supportive of the cannabinoid bill and opposing the change to the structure of the board. So appreciate all the work that you did and the staff and Brian in communications to share our point of view on all this. So thank you, David. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Great, thank you, Rick. Member Garrett, anything to add on the legislative side or the social equity bill? Or
Nope, not at this time.
okay. Great. Yeah, well, thanks for the comments, Rick. I think, something we've talked about here time to time, that we rely on facts and happy to share them with people. And we know there are policy disagreements, and it's interesting that other people in the industry who oppose those bills did so by saying that they didn't want their testimony against those proposals to be read as 100% agreement with everything the LCB does. We know we have disagreements. We have policy disagreements and debates at times, but we're able to keep talking about it and working it out, and that's the way it should work. So I appreciate those who came forward to the legislature to share their thoughts. So yeah, big week. It'll be interesting to hear from Chris next week to see where things stand and what the second part of the session is really going to look like for us. So hoping that THC bill in particular of the agencies keeps going and appears to be the vehicle for kind of the proper way to address regulation of these emerging compounds. So good work on all that stuff, Rick, to you and the staff.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move to our next, which is board meeting prep and rules update. And I will turn it over to Policy and Rules Manager Kathy Hoffman and her A team.
Thanks very much, Chair President. Good morning to you and Board Member Garrett. I'll do a brief update on timeline, and then we do have 3 things happening in the board meeting tomorrow. I'll kick it over to Jeff to give you a little bit of a debrief on what he'll be presenting tomorrow, and then Robert right after that. So I'll start off with where we are with alcohol rules. Listen and learn session is scheduled for this week, so Thursday at 10 a.m. With respect to the axe throwing rule project on the alcohol side. There's still a little bit of feedback coming from licensees and others with respect to that rule, conceptual draft set of rules, I should say. But at this point, it's just kind of tamped down to more of a slow trickle than I think what we were seeing before. So we're looking forward to that listen and learn session this week. On the horizon on the alcohol side is to just do some general liquor rule updates. There are some language changes that we need to make that are non-substantive, really. They're technical. Aligning some language, removing some language that needs to be repealed, those sorts of things. Things that staff have reached out to us to say, this is duplicative, those kinds of things. So we're going to try to tackle that this year, assuming that there isn't an overabundance of rulemaking that comes from the legislative session this year. So any questions on that before I move to cannabis?
No, thanks.
All right, so moving on to cannabis. CR 102 hearing scheduled tomorrow for quality control rules. Beth will speak to that in a minute. We've received, I think, comments so far. But just as a
I'm sorry, Kathy, you just cut out there for a second. How many comments did you get?
I think the last time Jeff updated me, which was yesterday, about 25 written comments so far.
Okay, thank you.
But again, just, keeping the focus of this rule project on quality of product and consumer safety, and really making sure that medical patients' needs are met and that product safety controls are consistent with the rest of the nation. So again, I'll let Jeff speak to that a little more once I sign off here. Jeff will also be presenting a CR 101 to open up WAC 314-55-108 with respect to pesticide action levels. This is just a technical update that needs to happen sort of in conjunction with moving the quality control rules forward. So very prescriptive CR 101 that Jeff will speak to a little bit about in a minute. And then with respect to social equity rules, we continue to work on the draft conceptual rules in that space. We do anticipate an educational session more on how to engage with LCB on rulemaking towards the end of February. At this point, we're holding the evening of February 17th for us to have a session that will invite community to talk to us, or at least we can have a dialogue about how they can become engaged in the rulemaking process, so they can become involved in the change that the social equity program will represent to them and to our state. So looking forward to that. We are on track to bring the rule package to you, the CR 102, by mid-April. So again, aggressive timeline, but I think it's absolutely doable under our current environment. And then we are holding space, rule coordinator space, for implementation of whatever happens in this particular legislative session. We do anticipate that there will be significant rulemaking activity that emerges from the session. So, any questions there? Go ahead.
One quick one, just is if there is legislative action that requires rulemaking, does that mean you have to start with a new 101, or you can't sort of adapt to it as we move along? Okay.
Unless there's something in the legislation, and I think on the legislation sponsored by Representative Morgan, I think we added an amendment, or we asked for an amendment last year that would allow us to engage in an expedited rulemaking process, meaning we would just make all the changes that are needed, and that's just changing one word, right. Throughout 314.55. We can do that without a public hearing if the legislation mandates that.
Okay.
So
okay.
That's one instance where we wouldn't start with a CR 101 because it's legislatively mandated.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Right. And then finally, with respect to general rulemaking, I think Robert's going to be presenting a CR 101 that would open up rules to contemplate electronic service. So it's largely a technical rule project that would create efficiencies for both the agency and for our licensees. So I'm going to kick it over to Jeff to speak to a little bit about what he'll be presenting specifically tomorrow. And then Jeff, if you would kick it over to Robert, that would be great. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Good morning, Chair Postman and Member Garrett.
Good morning.
Tomorrow I will be presenting a CR 101 pre-proposal statement of inquiry to allow the board to make some updates to WAC 314.55.108. And this section regards pesticide action levels. This rulemaking is needed to update some of the information about the pesticides that are listed in a table in that rule section. We also need to update rule language to change the term quality assurance testing to quality control testing so that it will be consistent with the quality control rules. And this rulemaking would also update rule language concerning remediation of failed marijuana lots, and will also eliminate some redundant language in the WAC section. So this will be a very narrowly focused CR 101 to allow just for those changes that we anticipate. And then are there any questions on this?
No.
Okay.
Not so far, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And we will be holding the public hearing for the CR 102 for cannabis quality control testing, WAC sections 314.55, 101, 102, and 102.5. This rule change would change current rules to require that all marijuana products produced and sold in Washington State would be tested for pesticides in addition to the current suite of I-501 tests. And this rule package also allows for the board to conduct investigation-driven or randomized screening for heavy metals. So we have been receiving more comments in the last few days. We're up to around 30 written comments received so far, and they're continuing to come in. Some comments are in support of the larger testing lots, and some other comments are concerned with the additional cost of having the pesticide testing required. So it's good that we're getting more comments as we approach the hearing date. So that's the summary. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
I don't just want thank you, especially on the quality control stuff. I'm sure it feels like, I think you've been doing that pretty much since the first day you showed up here. So I know it's been a big project. And as we get closer, people are really opening up, and I think that's good. We do want to hear from them. But I'm glad we're on a timeline here and we're going to get it done, and just appreciate the the way you've been able to take all this and synthesize it and come up with what I think tomorrow people will see is a really well thought out package. So thanks for that.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Chair Postman.
You bet. And no, I think we're turn it
Yes.
over to Jeff. Okay.
Yes, yes. I'll turn it over to Robert now. Thank you.
Great. Good morning, Mr. Despain. How are you?
Good morning, Chair Postman, Board Member Garrett. I'm doing well, thank you. It's good to see both of you.
Good.
This brief is brief. It's related to a request for approval to file a CR 101 related to electronic service and filing rules. So the WSLCB is considering creating or amending sections in Title 314 WAC to allow us to electronically serve notice and accept documents related to license applications and appeals. So the memorandum and tentative timeline are going to be briefed tomorrow during the board meeting. So I thought today I just open it up briefly to allow for any questions or comments either you might have on this process.
Only for me again, another thank you. This is of high importance to the board staff.
Right.
And so I'm sure they're watching carefully, and thanks for your engagement with them and the people from all around the agency who have helped make this happen. It's a great little kind of process improvement, and I'm glad we found time to get it on the agenda for you all, because I know you've had a lot of things to do. So yeah, it's internally it's exciting. So
Yeah.
appreciate that.
agree.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
All right.
So
Thank
yes,
you.
if there are no other questions, I'll conclude the brief. I'm looking forward to the board meeting tomorrow, though.
Great. Good. We'll see you then. Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, and that brings us to board member and executive assistant reports. I will start with you, Member Garrett. Anything to share with us today?
No, I was going to share, I don't know if you recall a couple of weeks ago in one of the hearings, someone came forward and was brought up something to do with extortion
Yes.
and things, and my name was mentioned. I have no idea who that person is, had never seen that person before. Although they mentioned the name of someone I do know, Nate Miles, I reached out to him to see why was my name linked to something. He did mention that he knew who they were, and he had inadvertently mentioned that he knew me. And that's how my name got thrown in there. But I was a little surprised, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to address, I have no idea what that is about.
Nor did anybody else, and it's unfortunate people come and say things in public meetings
Right.
that are so blatantly false and things of that sort. But yeah, appreciate that you
Yeah.
spoke up. Yeah. Okay. Dustin, anything from your desk today?
No, I think I'm all clear. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, then with that, we will adjourn the caucus meeting for today, the 1st of February 2022. We'll see you tomorrow for a board meeting and a public hearing. Goodbye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.